go click here. You have to report the tweet. That's what everyone else does, but they have special access. Okay, so I guess that's the big deal. But that isn't new. Like, we all know that already, right? This is just nothing. There's nothing here. So I'll get to more after this clip, though. So Jessica Tarlov, she is the, I guess, the liberal on Fox News that often is invited on some of these panels. Here she is pushing back on the other hosts about how this whole story is just completely nothing.
I cannot stand watching conservatives, like Kevin McCarthy was doing it this weekend, soon to be Speaker of the House, talking about how this is about the First Amendment. Joe Biden was not in elected office. He was a candidate. And what his team, according to the Matt Taibbi files, and I think it's in tweet 10 where we're talking about this, what they wanted taken down, the links that he provided, were pictures of his son's penis. Now, you tell me as a parent, their parents at the table, people have run for office. If God
so it wasn't about the 10% for the big guy.
No, well, it wasn't. Then show me the link about that. But the link that I saw was about Hunter Biden's junk.
Well,
that's
really
pathetic. No, yes, really, and that does matter. This is not about the First Amendment. And then he also said,
"Don't hide behind his junk."
Yeah, I don't know how big it is. How could I?
Big
wait,
guy.
can I just say something though? Taibbi also admitted that the Trump campaign asked for content moderation, and then he left those links out. Why did he not tell us what the actual government was asking to have taken down when you're telling us what Joe Biden's team asked to be taken down? And by the way, that's a violation of the terms of service. That's not even a favor. That's someone pinging someone at Twitter and saying, hey, this is revenge porn.
Jessica Tarlov there nailed it exactly. The actual story here that for some reason Matt Taibbi, serious journalist, didn't dive into was that the Trump White House at the time told Twitter to delete some tweets. And what tweets were those? Why isn't that the story? You have the actual government there. Biden was not in power at this time. The actual government telling Twitter, take this stuff down. That's the story. But instead, they're focused on the Biden campaign telling Twitter, hey, check out these naked images of Biden's son that should not be online. And Twitter took them down because they were already in violation of the terms of service. So this whole thing is just, again, nothing. Now, Matt Taibbi goes on, this is after the however that I showed you earlier on Twitter, to say this system wasn't balanced. It was based on contacts. Because Twitter was and is overwhelmingly staffed by people of one political orientation, there were more channels, more ways to complain, open to the left, while Democrats and the right. This is just a really stupid criticism with no actual basis in any connection to what was really going on. And I'll get to that in a second here. But based on people that work, generally people that work in Silicon Valley for places like Twitter, yes, lean more Democrat than Republican. That's just the way it is. That's just the makeup of the industry. You can't control for that when you're hiring. You can't hire based on political orientation. But you may say, oh, but, he has a point here. All these Democrats work there. All these people that, I guess, donate to Democrats compared to the GOP, they all work at Twitter. There must be a real influence on how Twitter operates. Well, it appears there isn't, because based on a peer-reviewed study, this isn't just like random information. This is a peer-reviewed study. Twitter admits bias in algorithm for right-wing politicians and news outlets. This is a study that was commissioned, so someone else did this for them. It's in so they published the findings initially, then it was published in the peer-reviewed journal, which interestingly enough is called PNUS. A lot of PNUS in this story today, but it was published. I'll link to this below the video. You can check out the study yourself. It's all out there. So if there was going to be any influence, then we would see it in the algorithm. But the algorithm actually shows the opposite. Funny. Again, weirdly not part of these Twitter files. Now, Elon Musk goes on to say, so I'm going to get to another clip in a second here with Fox and Friends, but Elon Musk goes on to say here, Twitter acting by itself to suppress free speech, not a First Amendment violation, which I'm glad he recognizes that because it's a private company, but acting under orders from the government to suppress free speech with no judicial review. Excuse me, orders from the government. Who was in power? Who was in power? Not Biden, Trump. So if this is what you're worried about, where are those tweets? Why isn't that part of the Twitter files? And even Taibbi even directly contradicts him. So Elon Musk, again, Musk is the one hiring Taibbi to do this. He's claiming that orders from the government. Yet Taibbi goes on to write, although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from the federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government involvement in the laptop story. So even if you want to claim, well, the FBI, they were acting on their own, separate from Trump to try and suppress this stuff, Matt Taibbi says no, wasn't going on. And in fact, there apparently, according to him earlier, as I showed you, there is government involvement in terms of the Trump White House trying to suppress tweets. But this is where we get to Fox and Friends, and watch as Doocy here gets into a bit of a battle with Kilmeade, or I should say vice versa, as Kilmeade doesn't like what the facts actually show.
What Elon Musk has released is evidence of corruption that goes to the highest level of government, it goes to the highest level of the FBI, and it goes to the highest level of big tech.
I don't know exactly what Ted Cruz is talking about because he mentioned the FBI right there, but if you read all of Matt Taibbi's posts, the thread, you can see what perhaps he's alluding to, but Ted is wrong. Matt Taibbi, his 20-second thread said, although several sources recalled hearing about a general warning from federal law enforcement that summer about possible foreign hacks, there's no evidence that I've seen of any government influence in the laptop story. In fact, that might have been the problem. So according to the guy who Elon Musk gave all the secrets to, he said, I don't see federal law enforcement involved in the laptop story at all.
Well, maybe they weren't, and we'll get answers when oversight, because these Republicans are taking.
But wait a second. How could that be the case? Is the FBI part of the government?
Yeah,
of course.
Did the FBI get the laptop? Did they go ahead and brief these major social media companies about not doing certain things and suppressing certain things?
In the run-up to the election, we heard, and we talked about from this couch, warnings from the Department of Homeland Security and federal law enforcement that given what happened in 2016, they might try it again. We heard that. But Matt Taibbi, who has seen everything, said federal law enforcement not involved in Twitter and the laptop story.
All right.
Period.
Yeah. The FBI is knocking at your door saying Russian disinformation, just like 2016, and you do it. You can honestly say the FBI had nothing to do with that?
The guy who's seen all the stuff says
But what I just said, but if anything I said was wrong, then I'll agree. But
Brian Kilmeade there grasping at straws because he is unhappy about what the facts show. That no, the FBI was not telling Twitter, take the stuff down. It was Twitter recognizing after they were recommended by the Biden campaign that, hey, this stuff is in violation of the terms of service because there's naked pics. Now, if you want to claim that in terms of hacked information, just generally, that doesn't involve, compromising, images of private individuals. You want to say that, anything hacked that is of value in terms of news and importance to society, that should be allowed on Twitter or other platforms. I agree with you. Yes. Hunter Biden, not in government, not part of the Biden campaign. Hunter Biden is just Joe Biden's son. This has nothing to do with anything. And the initial New York Post story that was, I guess taken down eventually, that had over 50 million views. So the story was not silenced. People knew of Hunter Biden's laptop and that it was hacked and that there were things in there, but there was nothing of importance in there that had anything at all to do with Joe Biden. The only connection they could find is, Hunter Biden likely got this job in Ukraine because of Joe Biden, which, yes, nepotism exists all across everywhere. Yeah, I agree. That's a bad thing. Nepotism sucks. But it's nothing different than Donald Trump having his own family in the White House, part of the administration. Joe Biden not even doing that. Trump did that. Why isn't that a story? This whole thing is just so freaking ridiculous. And look, if Hunter Biden broke the law, did something, then sure, go to jail, you should be held accountable for whatever you did. But why should anybody care? Why should I care? It's Hunter Biden. Who gives a shit? This idea that people on the left are defending Hunter